What happens when a locked door leads you to the man who could change your life forever? Meet Rachel Bennett, a 25-year-old designer at Starlight Designs, a top fashion company in San Francisco. She's got big dreams, a sharp mind, and a heart full of grit, but her coworkers don't always see it that way. Rachel's the kind of person who stays late, sketching ideas that go beyond her job description, only to be told she's reaching too far. It's tough when your passion feels like a target on your back. Picture this. It's a chilly evening in 2025, and Rachel's day is already a mess. Her boss piles on extra work, her desk is a chaos of fabric swatches, and now she's trudging home, hoping for a quiet night. But fate has other plans. When she gets to her upscale Mission District apartment, the electronic locks are down, a glitch from some fancy system upgrade. No key, no way in, and the thought of crashing in the lobby feels like admitting defeat. Rachel's not one to give up, though. She remembers a neighbor, a guy she's seen once or twice in the parking garage, always in a sharp suit, always in a hurry. Desperate, she knocks on his door, half expecting to be turned away. That's when she meets Daniel Foster, a man who's about to flip her world upside down. One knock sparks a journey of love, betrayal, and redemption, where locked doors lead to open hearts. Will Rachel find her place in a world that keeps pushing her out? Can a stranger become her safe haven? This is a story that'll make you laugh, cry, and believe in second chances. Get ready for a roller coaster of emotions, because Rachel's tale is just beginning, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment. Rachel Bennett sat at her desk in the buzzing office of Starlight Designs, surrounded by mood boards and fabric samples. The San Francisco skyline sparkled through the glass walls, but her focus was on the sketch in front of her, a bold dress design she'd stayed up all night to perfect. She wasn't just a junior designer, she wanted to prove she could think bigger. As she added a final flourish, a sharp voice cut through her thoughts. Margaret Hayes, her manager, loomed over her desk, arms crossed. "Rachel, your job is to follow my instructions, not to play artist with projects that aren't yours. Have you even finished the sales report I asked for?" Rachel's cheeks burned. "I finished it, Margaret. I just thought this design could help with the spring collection." Margaret scoffed. "Ambition doesn't pay your salary. Keep this up and I'll have to rethink your place here." Across the room, Isabel Ward, another designer, smirked. "Nice try, Rachel. Stick to coffee runs next time." The words stung, but Rachel bit her lip and turned back to her sketch. She'd graduated top of her class from a prestigious design school, yet here she was, fighting for scraps of respect. By 6 o'clock, the office emptied out, leaving Rachel alone with her thoughts. She packed her bag, her mind replaying Margaret's warning. As she stepped into the cool evening air, her phone buzzed with an email from the apartment management. "Due to a system upgrade, the electronic locks in your building are temporarily offline. Repairs begin tomorrow. Please make alternate arrangements for tonight." Rachel stopped dead on the sidewalk. Alternate arrangements? She checked her keychain, hoping for a miracle, but no luck. Her spare key was inside her locked apartment. The idea of sleeping in the lobby felt pathetic, and a hotel was out of the question. Her paycheck barely covered rent in the pricey Mission District. She scrolled through her contacts, but her few friends lived across the city, and crashing with them meant a long bus ride she didn't have the energy for. Rachel trudged to her building, a sleek high-rise with a now useless keycard scanner. The lobby was empty, the security guard shrugging when she asked for help. It's just one night, she told herself, but the weight of the day pressed harder. Then she remembered him, the neighbor from 12B. She'd seen him a few times in the parking garage, always in a tailored suit, carrying a leather briefcase. He'd nodded once when she held the elevator, his eyes sharp but not unkind. Maybe he'd let her crash on his couch. It was a long shot, but Rachel was out of options. She took the elevator to the 12th floor, her heart pounding as she stood outside 12B. The door was dark wood, polished, with a faint glow of light underneath. She knocked, half hoping no one would answer. Footsteps approached, and the door swung open. There he was, Daniel Foster. In a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, looking like he'd just stepped out of a meeting. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and his green eyes narrowed as he took her in. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice low and guarded. Rachel swallowed. "Hi, I'm Rachel, from 12A. I know we've only met in passing, but the building's locks are down and I can't get into my place. Could I maybe stay here tonight? I'll pay you for the trouble and I can help with chores or whatever you need." Daniel leaned against the door frame, studying her. "You're asking to crash at a stranger's place? That's bold." Rachel's face heated. "I'm not a stranger, exactly. We've seen each other around. I'm desperate, okay? I won't be any trouble." He raised an eyebrow, then stepped aside. "Fine. One night. But you're cooking dinner, deal?" Rachel nodded, relief flooding her. "Deal." She followed him inside, struck by how sleek his apartment was, all glass and steel with a view of the city lights. It screamed money, but she pushed the thought aside. Daniel handed her an apron and pointed to the kitchen. "I'm starving, and I'm not eating takeout again. Make something edible." Rachel laughed nervously. "No pressure, right?" She rummaged through his fridge, finding eggs, bread, and some vegetables. Cooking wasn't her strength, but she'd try. As she cracked eggs into a pan, the oil sizzled too loudly and smoke curled up. "Oh no," she muttered, waving a dish towel. Daniel appeared, smirking. "You planning to burn my kitchen down?" Rachel groaned. "It's under control. Sort of." He grabbed a spatula and flipped the eggs with ease. "Maybe stick to chopping for now." They sat at his counter with slightly scorched omelets, the tension easing. Rachel's hands were still sticky with egg yolk, and she glanced around, embarrassed. "Mind if I wash up?" she asked. Daniel nodded, pointing down the hall. "Bathroom, second door on the left. Don't get lost." Rachel smiled, grabbing her bag, and headed off. The apartment was bigger than she'd realized, with polished floors and modern art on the walls. She reached the hall, counting doors, but in her flustered state she misjudged. She opened what she thought was the bathroom, only to freeze. Steam billowed out, and there was Daniel, mid-shower, standing behind a frosted glass door. He hadn't heard her over the water, but his silhouette was clear enough to make her heart skip. "Oh my gosh," she gasped, slamming the door shut, her face burning. "Wrong." Rachel bolted back to the kitchen, mortified, and busied herself with dishes, hoping he hadn't noticed. Minutes later, Daniel strolled in, towel drying his hair, now in a fresh shirt. His smirk told her he knew. "Take a wrong turn?" he asked, eyes twinkling. Rachel buried her face in her hands. "I'm so sorry, I thought it was the bathroom. I didn't see anything, I swear." He laughed, a warm sound that eased her panic. "Relax, Rachel. You're not the first to get lost in here. Let's just eat before you set off any more alarms." She peeked through her fingers, relieved he wasn't mad. "You're way too calm about this," she muttered. Daniel shrugged. "Life's too short to sweat the small stuff. Now, tell me about your day. Those omelets aren't distracting me." They settled back at the counter, and Rachel opened up, the shower mishap fading into a shared chuckle. "I'm a designer at Starlight Designs, but my boss thinks I'm overstepping," she said. Today she basically said, "I'm on thin ice." Daniel listened, his gaze thoughtful. "Sounds like she's threatened by you. Keep doing your thing. People like that hate it when you don't quit." Rachel blinked, surprised by his insight. "Thanks. That's actually helpful." As they cleaned up, her phone buzzed with an email from Margaret. "Rachel, I need the revised sketches by 8 a.m. tomorrow. No excuses." She groaned, rubbing her temples. Daniel glanced over. "Rough day?" "Rough life," she muttered. He pointed to a guest room down the hall. "Get some rest. You look like you need it." Rachel smiled faintly, her mind still spinning from the day, and now, the image of Daniel's blurry silhouette. She had no idea this was just the start of something much bigger. Rachel woke to the smell of coffee drifting through Daniel's apartment. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a warm glow over the San Francisco skyline. She stretched, still in yesterday's clothes, and checked her phone. An email from the building management sat in her inbox. "Lock repairs delayed. System won't be fixed for at least 2 more days." Rachel sighed. 2 days. She couldn't afford a hotel, and imposing on Daniel longer felt like pushing her luck. But what choice did she have? She padded to the kitchen where Daniel was pouring coffee, his dark hair still damp from a shower. He glanced up, unfazed. "Sleep okay?" he asked. Rachel nodded. "Yeah, thanks. I just got bad news, though. Locks are still down. I can find somewhere else if it's too much trouble." Daniel handed her a mug. "You're already here. Stay till it's fixed. Just don't burn my kitchen again." She laughed, relaxing a bit. "No promises, but I'll try." Determined to pull her weight, Rachel offered to cook dinner again. Daniel raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. She scanned his pantry, settling on grilled cheese sandwiches, something she couldn't mess up too badly. As she melted butter in a pan, Daniel leaned against the counter, watching. "You're serious about this cooking thing, huh?" he said. Rachel grinned. "Gotta earn my keep. Plus, I'm not letting those eggs define me." The sandwiches turned out golden, if a little uneven, and they ate at his dining table, the city lights twinkling outside. "So," Daniel said, "you mentioned your boss yesterday. What's her deal?" Rachel hesitated, then opened up. "Margaret's tough. I pitched a new design and she acted like I was stepping on her toes. Then there's Isabel, who's always waiting for me to fail. It's like they see my ideas as a threat." Daniel listened, his green eyes steady. "Sounds like you're surrounded by people scared of your potential. Keep pushing. They'll either adapt or break." His words hit her hard, a mix of blunt and kind that made her feel seen. The next day, Rachel headed to Starlight Designs, her revised sketches tucked under her arm. The office hummed with chatter, but it quieted when she walked in. Isabel was at her desk, smirking over a coffee cup. "Nice of you to show up, Rachel. Hope those sketches aren't recycled from someone else's work." Rachel ignored her, setting her portfolio on Margaret's desk. Margaret barely looked up. "These better be good, Rachel. I don't have time for amateurs." The words stung, but Rachel held her ground. "They're original, and they're ready for the client meeting." Margaret waved her off, but Rachel caught a flicker of unease in her eyes. Back at her desk, she worked through lunch, tweaking designs until her vision blurred. By evening, she was exhausted but determined to prove herself. When she got back to Daniel's place, he was on a call, his tone sharp. "Tell them we're not budging on the deadline. I want updates by tomorrow." He hung up, noticing Rachel. "Rough day?" he asked. She slumped onto the couch. "You could say that. Work's a battlefield, and I'm running low on armor." Daniel sat beside her, a rare softness in his expression. "You're tougher than you think. Don't let them dull your spark." Rachel smiled faintly. "You sound like you've fought a few battles yourself." He shrugged, dodging the hint. "Let's just say, I know what it's like to be underestimated." That night, Rachel needed a break. She suggested grabbing drinks at a cozy coffee shop nearby, one with string lights and wooden tables. Daniel agreed, and they walked through the Mission District, the air crisp with fall. At the shop, Rachel ordered a spiked latte, joking she needed liquid courage to survive work. One drink turned to 2, then 3, and soon she was tipsy, her guard down. Daniel, sipping a black coffee, watched her with amusement. "You're chatty when you're buzzed," he said. Rachel giggled, leaning closer. "Maybe I just like talking to you. You're not as scary as you pretend." Her words slurred, and before she could stop herself, she leaned in, aiming for a kiss. Daniel caught her shoulders gently, pulling back. "Rachel, you're drunk. Let's get you home." Her face burned with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean—" He shook his head, his voice soft. "It's okay, I just want us to be real with each other, not rushed by a bad latte." Back at his apartment, Daniel handed her water and a blanket. "Get some sleep. We'll laugh about this tomorrow." Rachel nodded, mortified but grateful for his kindness. The next morning, she woke with a headache and a fuzzy memory of the night. Daniel was in the kitchen, making toast, acting like nothing happened. She mumbled an apology, but he waved it off. "You're fine, Rachel. Just don't make a habit of kissing strangers." She laughed, tension easing. "Noted. Thanks for not making it weird." They ate breakfast in comfortable silence, and Rachel felt something shift, a quiet trust growing between them. At work, things got worse. Isabel cornered her in the break room, holding a design that looked eerily like Rachel's. "I found this in the shared drive, Rachel. Funny how it matches your pitch. Did you think no one would notice you stole it?" Rachel's stomach dropped. "That's my work, Isabel. I created it last month." Isabel smirked. "Prove it. Margaret wants a full rewrite by tomorrow, or you're out." Rachel felt the walls closing in, but she thought of Daniel's words. Keep pushing. She spent the night at his place, working on her laptop, determined to fight back. Daniel peeked over, curious. "What's got you so focused?" She sighed. "My coworker's trying to sabotage me. I need to redo everything to save my job." He nodded, thoughtful. "You'll nail it. Show them who you are." The next evening, needing air, Daniel suggested a walk through a nearby park, its paths lined with eucalyptus trees. As they strolled, Rachel opened up more. "My dad built a company from nothing," she said. "When he died, my mom fell apart, and now she's in a coma. My stepdad and his daughter took everything, kicked me out. I've been rebuilding ever since." Daniel listened, his face unreadable. "That's heavy, Rachel, but you're still standing. That's not nothing." She looked at him, curious. "What about you? What's your story?" He hesitated, then said, "Just a guy trying to do right by the people who matter." His phone buzzed, another work call, and he stepped away, leaving Rachel wondering what he wasn't saying. Back at the apartment, she fell asleep on the couch, her laptop open, feeling safer than she had in years, even if she didn't know why. Rachel Bennett stood in the elevator of Starlight Designs, clutching her redesigned portfolio like a lifeline. The San Francisco morning buzzed outside, but inside the glass-walled office, tension hung heavy. She'd spent the night at Daniel Foster's apartment, pouring her heart into new sketches to counter Isabel Ward's accusations. Her co-workers' claim that Rachel stole a design had shaken her, but Daniel's quiet confidence kept her grounded. "You'll nail it," he'd said, and she clung to those words now. As the elevator dinged, she stepped into the open-plan office, where Isabel was already whispering to Margaret Hayes, their manager. Rachel caught snippets of their conversation, words like unprofessional and dishonest. Her stomach twisted, but she squared her shoulders and approached Margaret's desk. "I've got the revised designs," she said, her voice steady. Margaret barely glanced at the portfolio. "This better be worth my time, Rachel. We don't tolerate shortcuts here." Isabel smirked from her desk, twirling a pen. "Good luck explaining why your work looks so familiar, Rachel." Before Rachel could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Got a work thing tonight. Join me? It's at a restaurant in Embarcadero." She hesitated, unsure why he'd invite her to a professional event, but the idea of escaping the office drama was tempting. She texted back, "Sure, sounds fun." The day dragged on, with Margaret piling on extra tasks and Isabel dropping snide comments. By 5, Rachel was drained but determined to hold her own. She rushed back to Daniel's place to change, borrowing a simple black dress from her bag of spare clothes. Daniel was waiting in the living room, dressed in a tailored suit that made her pause. "You clean up nice," she said, half joking. He grinned. "You're not so bad yourself. Let's go." The restaurant, perched along the Embarcadero waterfront, glowed with candlelight and clinking glasses. Rachel felt out of place among the polished crowd, but Daniel guided her to a private table where a woman in a sleek red dress waited. "This is Victoria Lane," Daniel said, introducing her. "She's a partner on one of our projects." Victoria's smile was sharp, her eyes scanning Rachel. "And you are?" she asked, her tone dripping with curiosity. "Rachel Bennett," Rachel said, shaking her hand. "I'm just here with Daniel." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "Oh, the neighbor girl? I heard you're crashing at his place. How quaint." Rachel's cheeks burned, but Daniel cut in, his voice cool. "Rachel's my guest, Victoria. Let's keep this professional." Victoria laughed, but her eyes stayed cold, and Rachel sensed trouble brewing. Dinner was a blur of small talk and industry jargon. Rachel tried to follow, but Victoria kept steering the conversation to Daniel, dropping hints about their past meetings. As dessert arrived, Victoria leaned closer to Rachel. "So, how's it feel living off Daniel's charity? Must be nice, no rent, no worries." Rachel gripped her fork, anger flaring. I'm not living off anyone. I'm just waiting out a building glitch. Daniel set down his glass, his jaw tight. That's enough, Victoria. Rachel's here because I want her here. The table went silent, and Victoria excused herself, her smile brittle. Rachel exhaled, grateful but rattled. Thanks for that, she murmured. Daniel nodded. She's out of line. You okay? Rachel managed to smile. Yeah, just not used to being the center of attention. Back at work the next day, the tension exploded. Rachel walked into a meeting where Isabel presented a design nearly identical to hers, claiming it as her own. This is my original concept, Isabel said, projecting confidence. Rachel must have copied it from the shared drive. Rachel stood, her voice firm. That's my work, Isabel. I pitched it last month, and I have the drafts to prove it. Margaret frowned, unconvinced. This is serious, Rachel. If you can't back up your claim, you're out. The room buzzed with whispers, and Rachel felt her future slipping away. She pulled up her laptop, ready to show her time-stamped files, but Isabel interrupted. Why bother? Everyone knows you're desperate to impress. Rachel's hands shook, but she refused to back down. Just then the conference room door opened and Daniel walked in, his presence commanding silence. Heads turned, confusion rippling through the team. Margaret stood, flustered. Mr. Foster, what brings you here? Daniel's gaze swept the room, landing on Rachel. I heard there's a dispute about originality. Let's clear it up. He nodded to a woman in a blazer who followed him in, carrying a tablet. This is Sarah from HR, he said. We've reviewed the project files, including metadata and edit histories. Rachel's design predates Isabel's by weeks. Isabel falsified an email to make it look otherwise. The room gasped and Isabel paled. That's not true, she stammered. Daniel's voice was steel. The evidence says otherwise, Margaret. Your oversight allowed this to escalate. You're done here. Isabel, you'll apologize publicly and we'll discuss your future separately. Margaret froze, her authority crumbling. But Mr. Foster, I didn't know, she said. Daniel ignored her, turning to Rachel. Your design's approved. I want you leading the spring collection project. Rachel's jaw dropped, her mind reeling. The meeting ended in stunned silence, with Margaret escorted out and Isabel slinking away. As the team dispersed, Rachel caught Daniel in the hall. You're the CEO? She asked, her voice a mix of awe and betrayal. Why didn't you tell me? Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. I wanted you to see me, not my title. You've got enough people judging you without me adding to it. Rachel softened, touched by his honesty. Okay, but no more secrets, deal? He smiled. A real one this time? Deal. That evening, Rachel insisted on cooking to celebrate, but Daniel had other plans. Let's take a break, he said. My car's acting up, and I could use a second pair of hands. They drove to a quiet street near the park, where his sleek sedan sputtered and stalled. Daniel popped the hood, frowning at the engine. Know anything about cars? He asked. Rachel laughed. Only that they break at the worst times. She handed him tools, teasing him when he fumbled a wrench. You're hopeless, she said, grabbing it. Let me try. They bickered playfully, grease smudging their hands, until the car roared back to life. Daniel stepped back, grinning. Not bad, Bennett. You're full of surprises. Rachel wiped her hands, her heart lighter. Takes one to know one, Foster. As they drove back, Rachel glanced at him, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. She'd come to his door a stranger, but now, sitting beside him, she felt something new, a spark she wasn't ready to name. Daniel caught her looking and raised an eyebrow. What's that smile for? She shrugged, playing it cool. Just thinking you're not the worst neighbor. He chuckled, and for a moment the world felt right. But back at the office, whispers were growing, and Rachel had no idea the storm waiting to test her newfound strength. Rachel Bennett sat in the waiting area of a sleek law office in downtown San Francisco, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The view of the Bay Bridge stretched outside, but her mind was elsewhere, locked on the meeting ahead. Daniel Foster stood beside her, flipping through a folder of documents, his jaw set. They were here to confront Thomas and Chloe Reed, Rachel's stepfather and stepsister, who'd stolen her family's legacy years ago. She'd never thought this day would come, but Daniel had made it happen, tracking down proof of their schemes. "You ready?" he asked, his voice steady. Rachel nodded, though her stomach churned. "Ready as I'll ever be. I just want this over." He gave her a reassuring look. "You're not alone in there. Let's take back what's yours." The lawyer, a sharp woman named Miss Carter, ushered them into a conference room where Thomas and Chloe waited. Thomas, graying and smug, leaned back in his chair while Chloe scrolled on her phone, barely glancing up. Ms. Carter wasted no time. "Mr. Reed, Ms. Reed, we have evidence of illegal transactions tied to the Bennett Company. Bank records show you diverted funds meant for Rachel's inheritance. Sign these papers to transfer the shares back or we'll pursue charges." Thomas laughed, a hollow sound. "You're bluffing. There's no proof." Daniel stepped forward, sliding the folder across the table. "These are audited statements, wire transfers, and emails. It's enough for a fraud case that'll land you in court for years." Chloe's head snapped up, her eyes wide. "Dad, what's she talking about?" Thomas's confidence faltered as he skimmed the documents. "This is nonsense," he muttered, but his hands shook. Rachel spoke, her voice clear despite the knot in her chest. "You took everything, my dad's work, my home. I was a kid and you left me with nothing. Sign it, Thomas. Give me back what's mine." Chloe scoffed. "You don't deserve it, Rachel. You're nobody." Daniel's gaze hardened. "Watch your words. Rachel's worth more than you'll ever be." Thomas, pale now, grabbed a pen and signed, muttering apologies that rang hollow. Chloe followed, glaring but silent. Ms. Carter collected the papers, nodding to Rachel. "The shares are yours again. Congratulations." Rachel exhaled, a weight lifting, but victory felt bittersweet. She looked at Daniel, gratitude flooding her. "Thank you," she whispered. He squeezed her hand. "You did the hard part." That evening, Daniel suggested they celebrate at a BBQ joint near the Mission District, a lively spot with checkered tablecloths and the smell of smoked brisket. Rachel, still processing the day, managed a smile as they ordered ribs and cornbread. "You didn't have to do all this," she said, picking at her plate. Daniel shrugged, his green eyes warm. "You deserved justice. Plus, I'm starving, and you're not cooking tonight." She laughed, the sound freer than it had been in days. They talked over the meal, the hum of the restaurant fading into the background. Rachel admitted her fears. "I've got my dad's company back, but what if I'm not enough to run it? What if I'm not enough for—" She trailed off, glancing at him. Daniel leaned closer. "For what? For me. Rachel, you're more than enough. You're the strongest person I know." Her heart raced, but doubt lingered. He was a CEO, a world apart from her struggles. The next day at Starlight Designs, trouble brewed again. Rachel overheard whispers in the break room, colleagues eyeing her strangely. By lunch, the rumor hit her like a punch. Someone had spread a story that she'd had an improper relationship with a professor in college, tainting her reputation. She traced it back to Victoria Lane, the business partner from the restaurant, who'd sent an anonymous email to the team. Rachel confronted her at a coffee shop meeting, keeping her voice calm. "Why are you doing this, Victoria? I've never hurt you." Victoria smirked, stirring her latte. "You're in my way, Rachel. Daniel's distracted, and I don't lose to girls like you." Rachel clenched her fists. "He's not a prize to win. Back off." She walked away, shaken but resolute, knowing she had to clear her name. Rachel told Daniel that evening, pacing his apartment. "It's not true," she said, her voice cracking. "I worked hard in school, top grades, no scandals." Why would she lie? Daniel's face darkened. "Victoria's playing dirty. I'll handle it." He made calls, digging into the rumor's source, and found the professor in question, now retired, who confirmed it was a misunderstanding from a rival student years ago. Daniel drafted a statement for Starlight's internal network, debunking the lie, and cut ties with Victoria's company, citing unprofessional conduct. When Rachel saw the email, her relief was tinged with awe. "You did all that for me?" she asked. Daniel nodded. Nobody messes with you on my watch. Emboldened, Rachel opened up as they sat on his balcony, the city lights sprawling below. I like you, Daniel, she said, her voice soft. But I'm scared. You're this big-shot CEO, and I'm just figuring things out. What if this is too much? He took her hand, his touch warm. I don't care about titles, Rachel. I like you, the real you, the one who fights for what's right. Let me prove it. He suggested a morning walk to clear their heads, a chance to talk about what's next. Rachel agreed, her heart lighter but still cautious. As they planned, her phone buzzed with a new email from Starlight Designs, assigning her a bigger role in the spring collection. She smiled, feeling her world shift. But a new challenge loomed, one that would test not just her strength, but their bond. Rachel Bennett adjusted her scarf as she stepped out of Daniel Foster's car, the crisp San Francisco air brushing her cheeks. It had been months since she'd first knocked on his door, a desperate neighbor locked out of her apartment. Now she was here, standing before a grand Pacific Heights mansion, about to meet Daniel's family. He'd asked her to join him for a charity event hosted by his grandmother, Eleanor Gray, a woman known for her sharp mind and sharper standards. Rachel's stomach fluttered. What if they don't like me? She said, smoothing her dress, a simple navy piece she'd designed herself. Daniel squeezed her hand, his green eyes steady. They'll love you, just be yourself. That's more than enough. She smiled, drawing strength from his words. But doubt lingered as they walked through the iron gates. The mansion buzzed with guests, string lights twinkling over a garden filled with donation booths and art displays. Eleanor Gray stood at the center, her silver hair elegant, her presence commanding. She greeted Daniel with a warm hug, then turned to Rachel, her gaze appraising. So, you're the one Daniel's been talking about, she said, her voice measured. Rachel Bennett, is it? Rachel nodded, offering a handshake. It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Gray. I've heard so much about your work with local shelters. Eleanor raised an eyebrow, intrigued, polite and prepared. Tell me, Rachel, why are you here tonight? Rachel hesitated, then spoke from the heart. I believe in giving back. I've had tough times and I want to help others find their way. Eleanor studied her, then gestured to a booth. We're short-handed at the recycled fashion display. Care to pitch in? Rachel jumped at the chance, rolling up her sleeves. She spent hours organizing donated clothes, chatting with guests about sustainable design. Her passion shone through, turning heads, including Eleanor's. Rachel suggested a pop-up runway show, using volunteers to model the pieces, and pulled it off with flair, earning applause. As the event wound down, Eleanor pulled her aside. That was impressive, Rachel, but I need to know what drives you. Are you with my grandson for his world or for him? Rachel met her gaze. I love Daniel for who he is, not what he has. When I was at my lowest, he saw me, really saw me. I'd choose him even if he had nothing. Eleanor's expression softened. I believe you. I was testing you tonight and you passed with flying colors. Welcome to the family. Rachel's eyes welled up, and Daniel, overhearing, grinned. Told you she's special, Grandma. The next day, Daniel drove Rachel to Starlight Designs, where good news waited. An email from a former professor, Dr. Larson, had hit the company's inbox, copied to the entire design team. It read, Years ago, a false rumor about Rachel Bennett's conduct in college caused her pain. I'm setting the record straight. It was baseless, spread by a jealous peer. Rachel earned her honors through hard work. My apologies for the harm done. Rachel stared at the screen, relief washing over her. The whispers that had followed her, fueled by Victoria Lane's lies, faded as colleagues offered nods of respect. Margaret Hayes was gone, Isabel Ward was on probation, and Rachel's new project was gaining buzz. She threw herself into leading the spring collection, her sketches bolder, her confidence soaring. That evening, Daniel picked her up, suggesting a detour to Presidio Park. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, with the Golden Gate Bridge framing the horizon. They walked along a quiet trail, eucalyptus trees rustling softly. Rachel felt lighter than ever, her past reclaimed, her future bright. Daniel stopped near a lookout point, turning to her, his expression serious. "Rachel, these past months have changed me," he said. "I've built a lot, but none of it matters without you. You're my partner, my home." He pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a simple silver ring, its diamond catching the fading light. "Will you marry me?" Rachel's breath caught, her heart racing. She thought of their journey from a locked door to this moment, and knew her answer. "Yes," she said, tears spilling. "Yes, I'll marry you." Daniel slid the ring onto her finger, pulling her into a kiss as the city glowed below. They laughed, giddy, and sat on a bench, planning a small wedding, maybe at a vineyard nearby. Rachel rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm not quitting my job, you know," she said, half teasing. "I want to build my own path, not just lean on yours." Daniel chuckled. "I wouldn't have it any other way. You're going to take over the fashion world, and I'll be cheering you on." Rachel grinned, imagining her next collection, her name on a label, her dreams within reach. A week later, Daniel brought her back to the Pacific Heights mansion for a family dinner. His parents, warm and welcoming, greeted Rachel like one of their own. His mom, Linda, pulled her into a hug. "We've heard all about you, Rachel. You're exactly what Daniel needs, someone who stands tall." His dad, Robert, winked. "Just don't let him boss you around too much." Daniel groaned, and Rachel laughed, feeling at home. Over dessert, Eleanor raised a glass. "To Rachel," she said, "for bringing light to our family, and to love, which finds us when we least expect it." Rachel clinked glasses, her ring glinting, and caught Daniel's eye. He mouthed, "I love you," and she mouthed it back, her heart full. As they left the mansion, hand in hand, Rachel looked at the stars above San Francisco. She'd come so far, from a girl locked out of her life to a woman unlocking her future. With Daniel by her side, she felt ready for anything, a partner who'd fight for her, just as she'd fight for herself. Their story wasn't over. It was just beginning, and Rachel knew, no matter what came next, they'd face it together. And so Rachel Bennett and Daniel Foster found their forever, a love that started with a locked door and grew through battles won together. Rachel's journey wasn't just about finding romance, it was about reclaiming her strength. She walked into Starlight Designs as an underdog, fighting whispers and doubts, her sketches a quiet rebellion against those who tried to dim her light. Her stepfather and stepsister stole her past, but with Daniel's support she took it back, not with anger, but with the kind of courage that reshapes a life. From a night of desperation in a stranger's apartment to a sunset proposal in Presidio Park, Rachel learned that love doesn't just catch you when you fall, it lifts you higher than you dreamed. Daniel, the CEO who hid his title, didn't need wealth to win her heart. He needed only the honesty to stand by her side, grease-smudged hands and all. This story reminds us that life can lock you out of homes, dreams, or hope itself, but the right people hold the key to something better. Rachel's grit, her refusal to quit even when the odds stacked against her, that's what carried her forward. She didn't just find love, she found herself, a designer with a vision, a woman who'd built her own empire, ring or no ring. And Daniel, he showed us love isn't about grand gestures, it's about showing up, whether it's fixing a car or facing down a liar. Together they prove that resilience and trust can open doors no one else can. So what did you think of Rachel and Daniel's story? Did it make your heart race when he dropped to one knee? Or maybe you cheered when Rachel stood up to her past? Hit that like button if their journey warmed your soul, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales of love that spark laughter, tears, and everything in between. Drop a comment below. Tell us what moved you most. Have you ever had a moment where a stranger became your everything, or a day when you found strength you didn't know you had? We're reading every word, so share your heart with us.